So first of all, what we are going to do today, this is very important. So we are going to do incremental load, incremental load, okay, using ADF pipelines. So first of all, we should understand what is the concept behind incremental load and why it is required. Okay, so basically, for example, if I talked about inventory data or sales data even, right? In real time world, what is happening? Every day, seller is having some sales order to process. Based on that sales order, it is selling the object. Some sales is happening in the organization. So imagine if you talked about Amazon, right? Amazon, we have a lot of products. So every person is booking the products, right? So we have a lot of sales sellers associated with this. So can you imagine the volume of data? Volume of data, for example, every minute the person from any of the location is placing some orders. So if you talked about the volume of data, it is of huge volume. Now imagine I'm having a data, okay, which is having sales order information is stored in this data, or sales data is stored in this table, right? So in this table, you cannot imagine there are a huge number of records. Imagine we have 10,000 records, simple, correct? And you have Azure Data Factory, basically Azure SQL DB, right? So where you are storing this 1,000 records. So your pipeline is stored 1,000 records, correct? Now you finish your data load, okay, from this table, this sales table, which is hosted at the Amazon database, okay, and now you are moving this data from Amazon database to Azure SQL DB. And why you are moving? Because you want to do some reporting, you want to do some analysis, right? So basically, that's the reason you are doing a copy activity using ADF pipeline, right? But at the moment you did, the completion of 1,000 records, what happened? After 1 hour, again 1,000 got entered in this table. So again the pipeline will run. So what it will do? It should, load the complete data, 2,000 records, or it should only load the additional records which recently came, right? So in ideal scenario, it should only load the data which recently came. It should avoid whatever it is loaded. And why it should avoid? Because if you keep on uploading the data as a full load, so basically when we are loading the data, think of this. Whenever we are loading the data from source to target, okay. So let's see, if you have very less number of records, there is no problem in loading the full set of data. For example, I'm just giving another example to explain you what are the different kind of loading options we have. So imagine if you have a master data, okay, customer information is having master, you have master data table which is known as customer table. This table contains all the information related to customer. This table contains 1,000 records, imagine, right? Hardly few customers got added, so we are not having very high volume of data. So whenever you are creating an ADF pipeline or any flow, right, you can easily load the data as a full load. Full load, what is the meaning of full load? Whenever it runs, it will load all 1,000 records. This is known as full load. You're completely loading the data. For example, today is 22nd January, right? So what you are doing, you're daily loading the data. So every day 10 customers are coming. Even if it is 10 customer, 20 customers are coming, what you can do, you are not loading as a delta, but you are loading complete data. On 22nd, imagine 1,050 customers are there, 50 customers has added, but there is no harm in this because this is very less volume even, right? But if you have 1 lakh entry, 10 lakh entry, you cannot do a full load. Then in that case, you have to do a delta load. The meaning of delta load is whatever it is loaded in the previous run, you will not load it again. And this delta load is known as incremental load. Incremental load. And remember, in our real time environment, industrial experience, right? Everywhere we should have incremental load only. Most of the time it will be incremental load unless and until it is not a master data. For master data, full load is required. Okay. Now, how to implement this incremental load? It is important thing. Okay, so from theoretical perspective, you can check the Microsoft website. Okay, in this Microsoft website, you would be able to understand the concept of incremental load. Let me try to uh, find it out. So delta incremental load in Azure Data Factory. Incremental. Okay, so I'm just giving a Google search. You can see the learn.microsoft.com. If you click there, it will explain you what is the concept behind this and how to implement this. So basically, it is saying that we will use some watermark table. Okay, so don't worry, I'm going to explain this entire thing. Okay, it has given some kind of use cases also, how we have built that. So entire thing, I'm going to explain this with the help of very simple and very clearly with one example. Okay. Okay. So, but you can make yourself prepared for that. So I hope this is more clear. Okay. Then now we are going to talk about the case studies. Okay. Talk about how we can do this in incremental load. Okay. For example, you have a sales table. Okay. Now in this sales table, you have some entries. Okay. And let's first show you how we are going to build this case study. So I am having this is my sales table. Okay, so I have created a sales table having these many columns: sales ID, okay, product name, sales date, sales amount, and last modified date. Okay, and this is my value. So let's first create this table in the system. Then you would be able to understand more. Okay, so I'm going inside my SQL and I'm just clicking on new query. I'm going to create this table. Simple. Okay, so as soon as I created this table, the table will be available here. I can refresh and I can see the table is there. If you see, this table contains, sales ID, product, sales ID is your primary key, product name, what product you are selling, what is the date of your transaction, okay, on which the sales has done, what is the amount, and what is the last modified date. So remember, whenever we are going to introduce a incremental load, last modified date is required. Okay, that when the sales has occurred, something like that. Okay, but right now we don't have any value inside it. So what we will do, we will insert some value. So this is the code which I have written to insert the value. Okay, so let's do it here only, no problem. I will just copy this piece of code and I will run this command. So basically I am my sales ID is primary key. So 123 is a primary key. It's a sales order number, you can say. Then product, what product you are selling? Your product is selling is laptop, phone, tablet. Sales date is this 20th January. Okay, and we have tablet sold on 19th January. What is the amount? This is the amount, right? And this is the sales last modified date, means when this sales has occurred, when this record has entered in the system. Okay, and this is in the timestamp. So you can say DD, sorry, DD. Okay, and this is your hours. So this is basically nothing but a timestamp format. Okay, so this we are going to insert. So I'm going to run this. So I have triggered it. Now I can check the data. Okay, so select star from sales. So imagine this is the data which is having coming from Amazon. Imagine like this. So this is the sales data. So we have sales ID. This is the product name. This is the sales date, sales amount, and last modified date. Whenever the sale has happened. Okay. Whenever it actually entered into the system. Okay. So now we have a sales data ready. Okay, and this sales data have all the information, plus we have last modified date also. Okay, so we have this column especially. Okay, other information plus last modified date, and last modified date is nothing but it is in the timestamp format. When I'm talking about timestamp, it is the concatenation of your date, exact date plus all the time. Okay, so you know all you know already what is the format of timestamp. Okay, so this is done. Now what is my objective? My objective is to move this data from source. So imagine this is your source, and what is your target? You have a target table. Okay, and target table is, imagine you have a target table name as tr underscore sales or sales underscore tr, whatever you can say. Let's name this as sales underscore tr. Okay, so this is the name of the target table. So in this target table, you will, if you have loaded already, few records. So imagine from here, out of these three records, imagine the record of tablet is already available in the tr table. Okay, tablet is already available, right? So actually when we are loading it, it should avoid this tablet, right? It should only load two records that we are going to see in this example, and this is how we can prove the concept of incremental load. Okay, so right now let's create the target table also. So we have a code created for target table, so you can see the exactly target table and your source table is matching, all the information is matching, right? We have all the columns same as it is, right? So let's create a target table, and we are not going to insert any, so let's create a new query over here. Okay, just to make the things clear. So we have a sales underscore tr, this is a target table, and this is your last modified date, so we should put like a semicolon here. Okay, now bracket and semicolon should be there, right? Got it. Okay, so let's run. So this table is created. Okay, I just copied till here. Got it. Now this table is ready. Target table is ready. Now what is next? So next is we should have a metadata table. Okay. So what is metadata table? This is also very important. Okay. So metadata table is basically a table which is recording your logs. Log means it is recording that what is the latest run. Okay. For example, I mean, uh, okay, I can explain you in this way. Uh, just a second. So you can see we have this in piece of information. Okay, so in this one, if you see last modified date, the date is 21st January. This is 21st January. This is 19th January. Correct. So imagine you are running the data load on 22nd January. Today is 22nd January. Agreed? Okay. But when the last run was happened, the last run was happened on 19th January. Okay, so on 19th January, this record was already loaded, right? But who knows that from where we can save this log? So we should have a table where it is having some proof, right? This is known as marker table. What do you mean by marker table? If you check all these links, you can see everywhere it is talking about marker table. So delta data loading from database by using a watermark. Okay, so marker table or watermark is nothing but a table which tells that when the last run happened. Okay, now for example, on 19th January, the last run was happened, right? So in that last run, if you see on 19th January, how many records you were having? You were having only one record because these two records was created on 22nd January, 21st January, right? So on 19th January, when this was happened, the last run, it was having one record It means it has loaded the one record into target table. Got it? Fine. And at the same time, it updated in this metadata table that last run was happened on 19th January. When? 19th January. Right? And what is the use of updating the log table? The use is whenever we have next run happens, it will the process this database will understand. Okay, last run was happened on 19th January. That means whatever entry we have present in the source, which I have to load, should be greater than 19th January. Okay, this is the concept. Okay, let me come up with the same concept once again. Okay, which is very, very important. So, for example, we have a source, we have a target. Okay, in this source, I am having some items like laptop sold on 21st. Okay, imagine we have, okay, forget about laptop, we have a tablet first. So, we are standing on 19th January, correct? So there was only one record. So this record got moved from source to target. Imagine we have loaded this one. Okay. And we have a table known as metadata table. Metadata is nothing, but it is a watermark table. So what is the concept of watermark table is whenever you load any data, okay, so it will update that this data was loaded on which date. Okay. So this data, so on 19th January, the data load happened. The incremental data load happened, right? On 19th January, the incremental data load occurred. Now, imagine in the source, we have one record on 19th. Now, two more record came on 21st January, which is your, you can say, mobile phones. Okay, 21st January. And we can say another things like LED on 21st January or maybe on 20th January. Imagine. So we have two more records entered in the system. But after 19th January, no further data load has happened. Now you triggered the data load on 22nd January, means today, correct? So system know that when it was last triggered on 19th January. So system will only would avoid this record because system is assuming that this might have already moved from source to target. So because you are running after this 19th January, so whatever data we have present after this 19th January will be copied from here and will move to the target, right? Okay, so it depends on this metadata. So this metadata is nothing but a known as watermark table. Watermark table. So this watermark table will decide, will capture the information when the last data load was happened. Okay, and how it is helpful? It is helpful to identify which record to pick, which record to avoid. That's the meaning of incremental loop. Okay, making sense? Now we are going back once again to our use case. So what we have done so far, let me come up. So we have created our sales, okay, source. So let me close all the queries and show you what we have done so far. Okay, so we have two tables ready with us. Let's create a query once again and let me show you. We have select star from sales. Sorry. So if you run, these are the three entries you are having. Okay. One is for 19th January and other two entries is for 21st January. Fine. Then we have another table created for target and target will not be having any data, obviously, right? Because here we have to load the data. So it is having empty. Okay. It should be from. It is having no data. Now we should have a master metadata marker table which just now explained, right? So I already have this query for marker table or metadata table. So this is the one. So I'm going to create this, and I can insert the value also. Okay, so as I suggested, I'm inserting the value like 20th January. Imagine I'm inserting this value 20th January, so that whatever data has entered after 20th January should be loaded. Got it? So I'm running both the queries together, so it will create and insert at the same time. So this metadata table is having two column. First one is a process name because I'm loading incremental load. So this table will take a record for all the delta loads running in the system. This table is there. It will capture that date column. Okay, so I just triggered it. You can see we have a table created for metadata as well. Okay, and if you want to select the value inside this table, select a star from metadata. What is the value? This is the value. What it indicates? This indicates that the last delta load in the system occurred on 20th January. So whatever pipeline we have, so imagine if I'm having ADF pipeline, okay, P1, something like that. Okay, so imagine I'm having 14 pipelines. Okay, out of these 14 pipelines, there are few full load, okay, and remaining are delta load. Imagine, or you can say incremental load. Okay, so we are having a log table. The name of log table is metadata table. So in this metadata table, we have something known as process name. Okay, and we have something known as date, log date, log. What is the meaning of this? So in this one, we have something known as full load, and we have only two entries as per our objective. So we have two entries. One is for full load, another one is for delta load. So if full load is triggered on 1st of January, the last time, it will record 1st of January. If delta load was triggered last on 20th January, it will record 20th January. It means in your entire system, this will only talk about the nature of load and when this happened last time. That's it. Okay. This is the concept of metadata table. Got it. Now we are clear with the metadata table. So we have inserted this value. Now what we will do, we are going to create the pipeline. Okay, but before creating the pipeline, so how this metadata table will be updated? So we have to create a stored procedure. The next item is, because see this, when you run any ADF pipeline, the data will be copied from source to target. Correct? You will do a copy activity and the data will be copied from source to target, right? So ADF, for example, you run P7, pipeline 7. So, or you run any of the pipeline. So data will be copied from source to target. How this information is getting updated? So once all the process chain, all the load completed in the system, right? For example, today is 22nd January. So imagine all my data load is completed on 22nd January. Then what I will do? I will update this table. I will update because full load is also getting completed today. Delta is also getting completed today, right? So I will have to update for full load. What is the value? 22nd Jan. What is the value for delta load? 22nd Jan. Okay. Or in case if only delta load completed today, okay, if only delta load completed today, full load has not yet triggered, then you will update only delta load and the previous date of first gen would remain as it is, right? So, and how to update this? So to update this, we have to create a procedure, stored procedure. Agreed. So now, so far, what we have done in our exercise, we have built our source, we have built our target, we have built our marker table, which is known as metadata table, which maintains the log. But now we have to create the stored procedure. Okay, so what is the purpose of this stored procedure? The purpose of this stored procedure is to update this metadata table. Okay, now we are going to create the stored procedure. So this is the, code of stored procedure where I am updating the load metadata table. Okay, so I can copy here and I can explain you the code also. You can, you know, have a look on the code by yourself also. So let me paste it. So you can see, so we have a create procedure. The name of procedure is update last load timestamp. So whenever this last load happen, you are updating the timestamp. So you have two columns. One is process name and another one is last load timestamp. And because this is at the rate, that means it is a parameter. Okay, so it is accepting the parameter. Okay, and the value of parameter you have to pass whenever you want to use this stored procedure. Then as option is already there, so and begin, after begin our actual code will be written, and actual code is very simple. Update metadata, it means it is updating the metadata table. And how to update? We will use set command. We are setting, so in metadata we have two columns. Okay, if you want to see the structure, you can see also. Okay, let's see this. Select a star from metadata once again. So it is having two columns. First column is a process name, second column is last load timestamp. Okay, so you can see in metadata, so last load timestamp, how it is getting updated? It will be getting updated with the help of this parameter that you have created. Okay, so you have created same name, you have used same name for parameter, but this is the parameter. So if you are giving input of our incremental load, this will set as an incremental like this. Okay, and if you are giving the process name, the name of process, oh sorry, so a last load date, you will put UTC now. Okay, current date, because today's date you have to update, and process name would be either full load or incremental load. So this is the one. So now you have to create this command, sorry, stored procedure. Okay, now hit on run. It has created this stored procedure. You can see the stored procedure is created, right? So you are done with source, target, marker update, and stored procedure. Everything is fine. Okay, now it's a time to create the pipeline. Fine. How to create the pipeline? We already know. We have to go here. We will hit on this new pipeline. We will give this name PL underscore incremental test, you can say. Okay, I'm hiding with the property. Then what is the first thing we have to do to create a pipeline? Okay, so in this pipeline, the very first thing is we should know what is our last update. Okay, so in metadata table, this gives that when last time incremental load happened in your system. Okay, this is giving this piece of information. Okay, last date, last update date, you can say, right? So what we have to do, firstly we have to go for lookup. We know already about lookup activity. I have already covered and we have used this, so I'm just giving a very brief about lookup activity. So it is different with the metadata and get metadata activity. And lookup activity is basically looking up for some column value. Okay, however, get metadata will only look up some, something like exist option, file name, right? Something like that. But this lookup is only meant for column. Okay, so basically we will use lookup activity here first, because what is the reason of using lookup activity? Because we want to look this last update date. We want to have this value. Okay, so we will use lookup activity. Okay, and I can just rename this as get last update date, right? last data load timestamp, something like that. Okay. When the last data load has happened. So this is what I want to do that. Now I will have to create a data set. So from where we can get the last update date? Which table? So obviously this table is residing in SQL DB. So I will use SQL, Azure SQL DB, right? And our last update date is stored in metadata table, right? When this last delta has happened. So ds underscore metadata, just I can select my link services and I can select my table. My table is basically this one, metadata. Okay. And that's it. So I will hit on OK. Fine. You can see my lookup activity is ready. Now let's debug this. Just want to check what value it is generating. Okay. But I have not, okay, I have not done one thing. Because it is checking the entire table value. Okay. Right now, let's see if it is giving the result. But I don't want entire table value. I will let you know, but let me see. See, if you click here, it will give you first row. It will give you process name incremental load and it will give you timestamp. Okay, so it is giving you all the information which is present in this table, but I don't want all the information. I want this information only, right? So what I can do, I can create a select query. I can hit to a query and I can create a select query. So this is my select query. So basically, okay, yeah, this is my select query. So I just want to see last our load time step. Okay. If you want to just copy in a notepad, you can copy it. Just a second. Yeah, paste it. So this is the output coming from lookup activity. This will help me to write the query, right? So what I'm going to do, I want to just hit on select a star from, okay, which you want to select. You want to select your last load timestamp only. Okay. Okay. Oh, not star. Sorry, my mistake. Select last load timestamp from metadata. Okay. Okay. Just copy from here. Paste it. Simple. Okay. So we are selecting last load timestamp from metadata table and we are putting filter clause where process name should be incremental load. Okay. That's all. Got it? Now let's debug once again. You can see this time it will only give you the last load timestamp. So what is the last load timestamp? It is 20th January, right? Now this is done. Now what is the next thing we have to do? We have to do a copy activity. We have to copy the data based on this piece of information. So we are just doing a copy. We'll connect this, and how we are doing a copy, we should have a source data set, right? And how to make the source data set, what is your source table? Source table is your SQL table, right? So you can use this as your SQL DB, and then you can hit on ds underscore sales underscore sr. SR stands for source, and you will select your source table. This is your source table. Okay. Now you will hit on OK. Now this time, uh, this is very important now because here we are not copying all the data. You're doing a copy, based on your last date. Okay, so let me tell you this manner. Okay. So this is the source data. So imagine once again, I am just explaining the same concept. This is the source, this is target, and this is your metadata, right? In source, we have laptop. We have laptop for, you can say, um, the created date for laptop is 21st January 2025. Okay. We have another one is LED. I don't okay, imagine this way 2025. Okay. We have something known as tablet. Okay. Which is for 19th Jan 2025. Got it? So in target, so in get meta in metadata table, the last modified date for incremental load is your 20th of January. Okay, correct. Now in this target table, while doing a copy activity, I don't want to select this entire source. Okay, what I want to do, I want to select the data. So for example, I want to select only records having date higher than, okay, date higher than 20/01/2025, right? Higher than your get metadata date, right? So we already looked up, we already extracted this information while lookup activity, right? So what we can do, we can write a query here. And what query we can write? We can write a query using this dynamic content. And in this dynamic content, we can use this option get last date upload timestamp first row, because we connected. And from where this is coming? This is coming from your previous activity because you connected this, right? So based on that, we will use this. Okay, let's write this query once again. So we will use this one, and this one should be greater than your the date. Okay, so let me I designed this code as well for you, but I can help you to write. So select star from sales. So whatever entry we have, we are writing like this: select a star from sales, right? Because this is the table. Then we will write where clause, where we can go in lower or uppercase, that does not matter. Okay, where what is our last modified date, because sales is having last modified date. If you see the sales, okay, close all the queries, open new query, and you can see select star from sales, right? This is what we are doing. So in this sales, we have something known as last modified date. So just copy this one. So your last modified date should be greater than whatever date we have in metadata table or marker table. Okay. So what we will do, we have copied this one where last modified date should be greater than, okay, greater than this one, right? So I have kept greater than this one. Okay. Right, but at the rate is coming here, you remove this at the rate from here, and instead of this, what you can do, you can place a curly brackets like this. Okay, after first row, you should put dot this load last, because first row is only pointing to the table, but what is the column name? The column name is last load timestamp. Okay, you can see this as well here. You can go to new query, select a star from metadata. If you run, this is the name of the column. So what you will do, you will put after this one, this is what you want to point out. You put the curly brackets once again, and before curly bracket you can put at the rate. Okay, and whatever you have inside at the rate you will put under single quotes. Okay, so this will complete your statement. Fine. Uh, and let's check if it is resembling with my query or not. Yes, it is resembling the same way. Correct. So in this manner, you can hit. Now, what is your sync? You want to load this data in target table in SQL database only. So this is your SQL database. Continue, and this you can write ds underscore sales underscore tr, right? Target. Then what you will do? You will use this SQL DB. You select your target table. Okay, and then you'll hit on OK. You can give none also. Okay, that's not a problem. Fine. Uh, then once the data load is finished, you need to update this marker table also, right? Because if data load is finished today, now the new date should enter here. This date should be changed from 20th to 22nd, right? If it is completed after copy activity, if it is completed, that should be changed, correct? So how we can manage this? We can manage this using stored procedure. So we already have a stored procedure created, right? For this purpose to update this metadata table, right? Okay. So we will use stored procedure at the end. Stored procedure. Okay, we will connect this copy data output here because after this the stored procedure will be triggered. We don't have any link. Okay, don't think that the output of this copy activity become input of this one. No, it is not like that. It is just after completion of this copy activity this will trigger. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are going to update the metadata table, right? This is what we are doing. Metadata table, or we can say update update last load date, right? Load date time. Okay, fine. What procedure we are using? So we already have a procedure. The procedure is update last load timestamp. Okay, let's give the same name. Update last load timestamp. Timestamp. Correct. So, and do we have any procedure parameter? Let's see. If we have a parameter, we can do that, right? So this is my procedure. This is my procedure. I will hit on this and click on view definition. You can see we have two parameters. So let's copy the parameter from here, process name. Okay. And what we can do, we can hit on new. We can create this, the same name parameter here. And this is because this is a string. This is n varchar is nothing but a string. Okay. So we have to select string. Let me select a string. This is the string. And what is the value? We can pass the value also, or if you want, you can create the pipeline parameter also. Okay. But let's pass this time. And what value we should pass? We can go to this value, right? With this the process name. Okay. So this value we have to pass. So let's pass this value here. Fine. Now again, the second parameter we have to create. The second parameter is, the name of second parameter is this one, last load timestamp. Okay. So I'm going to create the same here, last load timestamp. And what kind of data type it is? It is a kind of timestamp. So date time will be there. So when I, now what value I should pass here? Because if I'm loading today, I should pass UTC now, today's timestamp immediately, right? So what I'm going to do, I can hit on add dynamics. I will go to functions. I will use UTC now. Okay. I will hit on OK. Got it. So this is done. So this has completed your exercise. Now it's a time to debug this. How to debug this? So before debugging it, let's close everything, all the queries, and let's check one by one the entire concept. So I am going to do a select star from sales, right? This is your source table. Watch very carefully. So we have three entries in the source table. Uh, this tablet, the last modified date is 19th January. For phone and laptop, modified date is 21st January. Got it? Now, if you talked about target table, so target table is not having any data because we have to load the data from source to target. So no data is there. Correct. But we have to load the data from source to target based on the previous load information. When the previous load happened, the previous load happened on 20th January. Agreed? So it means uh, system understand that whatever data created before 20th January, he has to avoid, right? So if I run this copy activity, what is going to happen? How many records it will be loaded? Can anyone please answer? Okay, now we are going to run this pipeline. I have not published it, but let's run this out. So this is running. Okay. So your first activity is completed. First activity is lookup activity. If you want to check, you can see. So it has looked up your last load time, which is 20th January. So we are good. We can refresh once again. And now it entered to do a copy activity, right? To the second node. So it is trying to copy the data from your sales to target. So it has copied. You can see this has copied. Now the third activity got triggered, which is update, which is stored procedure activity. So it is updating your log details. Okay, so all the three things are completed. Now if you have to validate, we can validate one by one. Okay, because we know that we have three entries. Now we can check our target, how many records we have loaded in the target. Two entries, because system understand that we have to only do a data load having last modified greater than whatever feeded in the metadata. Okay, because this is the concept you have written, right? This you have written. Based on this query, the data is getting loaded. So basically last modified date, if it is greater than your lookup activity last load timestamp, then only it will work. So this is 19th January, right? So all the data greater than 19th January will be loaded, and that's the reason we have two records. I believe it is clear. Now let's check the metadata, because our stored procedure, this activity, what is the purpose of this activity? This will update the values of today's date, because today we have completed this data load. Okay, so we can see the load is now this one, right? So today's data load has updated. It is showing 23. Why? Because it is a UTC time. Okay, so it will only capture the UTC time. UTC time is basically a UK based time, London time. Okay. Now we can do some experiment here. What experiment I can do? I can add one more column, one more record, right? I'm just adding one more record. And how to add this one more record? I can insert directly. I can insert here. So let me copy this insert command. Okay. So we already have three records. Three IDs are there. So what I will do, I will paste this and instead of 1 I will put 4, fourth ID, and I will give this like LED, something like that, and this I am going to give like 22nd. Okay, and this is the last modified date. So what I have to do, I have to change this last modified date, right? And how to change this? So this is the timestamp. So I can copy from here, and you can see you have this 0439. Okay, so this is the time. T stands for time, so I have to change this as 23. Okay, and after this, if I put 04, this like this, and this is 39, so in place of 39, can I put 40, just adding 1 minute or microseconds, right? And let's see if it is working or not. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to run this. So now you can see this has added. If you want to check the data once again, you can check, select a star from sales. Okay, you can see now we have 4 entries actually, right? Now you can see one entry of LED which just now I added. Okay, I have not updated the sales date. Oh, I updated the sales date also. Everything is fine. Okay, sales amount is also 1500, so that does not matter. Okay, now if you see the target, we in target we have only 2 entries, right? So if you run the target table, we have 2 entries here, right? And if you run the watermark table, select start from metadata, the it is updated with the timestamp 4:39 a.m. right? My record which I created was 4:40 a.m. right? So with some difference of some milliseconds, my record is getting created. So it should capture that also, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit this pipeline once again, and it should load one single record. Okay. So we should wait for this to be completed. Let's refresh this out. It started. It is completed. So if you see, let's see the output. So you can see this is the output for 23rd January 4:39. Okay. Now this is the copy data is triggered. I believe this is also completed, or it's in progress. This is completed. So it might have entered one record, and now it is updating your marker table. This is done. Now it's a time to check the records. So you can see the target table. So there will be 3 entries in the target table. LED record got loaded, right? And if you see the metadata once again, your this last load time is also updated from 4:39 to 4:44 a.m. Right? So this has completed the case study. Now, what one more interesting thing we can do, right? What we can do, either you can hard code in the same manner, this one, or you can make a parameter also. Okay, but in parameter you have to feed every time the value of the pipeline. Got it? Okay, so this is how it's completed. Okay,